Okay, so moving right along, cooking fire facts. Let's talk about some cooking in the home because everybody loves to go to grandma and grandpa's and eat. And we know that most of the grandmas that are watching this today are probably phenomenal cooks. As a matter of fact, when you have that contact number at the end of the presentation, you're welcome to give me a call and invite me to dinner anytime. So let's talk about cooking. Cooking is the leading cause of residential fires in the United States today. The number one cause of fires in the residential setting is cooking. Average of 150 cooking-related fire deaths and 35 injuries in the United States per year. That's just an average. The top 3 factors in cooking fires, the top 3 causes that we find, and we've had them right here in Garner ourselves on cooking fires, are one of 3 things. Either unattended equipment, because it's easy to start something, walk out of the room, go check on someone in another room, go outside and check on something. You're checking on the grandkids, you're seeing what the score is on TV, and forget that something's on that stove. And we've gone to many fires where the cause of the fire was a pot that was left on the stove that was left on, and they forgot about it. Combustibles too close to the stove. Your dish rags, your paper towels, any type of paper that's being used, plastic utensils being left in pots. Any of those type things can easily catch fire and spread to the cabinets and the areas around that stovetop in a great big hurry. And then the other one is equipment that's turned on accidentally. And most often what we see in this case is going to be the incorrect burner was turned on the stove, or someone took a pot off of a burner and forgot to turn that burner back off. And this is even more dangerous when you're cooking with gas. So please be aware of those burners that are not being used and making sure they don't get left on or get accidentally turned on. Making sure that you keep the area around your stove clean and clutter-free. Any of the grease that builds up in on your stovetop, grease that builds up in your oven. Oftentimes we get calls for kitchen fires when it's actually the oven that is on fire as a result of grease and drippings that have dropped down in the bottom and gotten on the elements. Another thing that's not mentioned here that sometimes is mistaken for a kitchen fire is when we use the self-cleaning feature on our oven. A lot of folks misunderstand that they can simply turn on the self-cleaning feature and it will clean the oven completely. And oftentimes what happens is that excess heat that's used to clean that stove will actually set on fire any remaining food that's in the oven. So what we ask when you get ready to use your self-cleaning function is to go ahead and remove the large particles as much as you can by hand out of that stove, and then use the self-cleaning function. Results in a lot less smoke and a lot less mess, and also resulting in you not having to call the fire department to come out and get all this smoke out of your home. Some more things that you can help prevent cooking fires and prevent burns to yourself. Making sure you turn the pot handles inward. Garner Fire, we go to the UNC J.C. Burn Center once a year at Christmas time. The majority of the burns that we see in that burn center are a result of cooking burns. And oftentimes, unfortunately, there are children, because pot handles get left turned outside and folks will bump against that pot handle, whether it's the person cooking or a child running through the kitchen. Crock pots, believe it or not, can cause very severe burns. We had an incident last year. We met the child at the burn center who had pulled a crock pot off of an island, a kitchen island, and pulled the crock pot down on top of himself. He was 1.5 years old, had 2nd-degree burns to his arms and chest. So please use caution with crock pots, slow cookers. Make sure you turn those handles to the inside, making sure you use the pot holders and oven mitts so you're not burning your hand, particularly when folks like us, all of us, we love using cast iron pans. Cast iron skillets. That's the best way in the world to cook. And the only thing that I would fault us for is we don't teach our kids not to wash them with soap and water. But that's another story for another day. Never lean over hot burners. Make sure that your clothes are tucked in tight. You're not wearing loose-fitting clothing, especially if you're wearing aprons. Make sure that they're snug so that you're not touching hot surfaces around your stove while you're cooking. Making sure you're using a timer to remind yourself of when you're cooking. Don't necessarily depend on the timer on the stove, especially if you've got multiple things going at one time. Stay in the kitchen at all times when you're cooking, frying, grilling, boiling, whatever it is. If you're going to leave, even for a short time, I know it may be a little inconvenient, but we ask that you turn the stove or the burner off, and please don't leave it unattended. Stay in the home if you're simmering, baking, roasting. Same thing. We don't want you leaving the room. We don't want you leaving the house. We always want somebody at home and in that room as long as you're cooking, so that we can make sure that everyone in the house stays safe.